So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to not lose a ton of money in the coming housing market, recession, or just however it pans out. I've been seeing way too many people over the years, last few years, especially 2021, now in 2022, and they're set up to lose a lot of money. And so in this video, I want to talk about how not to get crushed in the coming real estate market, both from the buy side and from the sell side, whether you're buying or selling. I'm going to try to give you a playbook on how to approach it and some things to look out for. So if you stick for the end, I will tell you my thoughts and what I plan on doing and kind of what I think the market is going to do. I plan on making a video on when I think the market is going to bottom, and then I think I'm planning on making a video on how to, navigate this whole thing, especially as a real estate agent. So in this video, let's get right into it. Let's talk about how to survive it. So those of you who don't know me, I'm Jack Motley. I do a lot of crazy stuff on this channel, and some of it has to be real estate and real estate agent related, and some of it has to do with living the great beach life. So I made a post the other night that was pretty controversial, and that's just my middle name, it seems like. But I was like, you know what, people need to know. And in the real estate world, there's this moat around what people call professional and unprofessional. I feel like it needs to be pierced and to show the audience, my viewers, people who follow me along and are trying to learn real estate, what is really going on and what is behind that veil and how people get taken advantage of and how people just sometimes don't know how to navigate. So I saw this post right here by Graham Stephan this morning. He was talking about, basically this is the fastest slowdown in real estate we've seen in a long time. And I agree, especially after the last rate rise. It was like the market just hit the brakes and you could not hardly move a property to save your life. I keep saying the best time to sell in this market was yesterday or today because it's only going to get worse. If you think about it, we're going to get another probably 0.5 rate rise coming up next month, depending on what CPI data does, and I think we'll probably get another one after that. The Fed said, yeah, we might be dovish the other day. I thought that was weird that they basically told everybody to put on the accelerator when they're still going to tighten and raise rates. And most of these rates will not reflect into our economy for like 6 quarters, probably more. Real estate even more because it's really slow to get data on, so you won't even know it changed when it changed. So that first category I want to talk about is overpaying. For the last, and I've talked about this on a lot of videos, comping a house as a real estate agent for like the last couple of years, really last year and a half, was like shooting a running deer and you're just firing in front of it, trying to catch it wherever it is. Because I saw a ton of, honestly, I saw this more in the agents that have been in the game a long time, the old guard. They were thinking more of how the game used to be played, what the neighborhoods used to be like, how much that house used to sell for, the properties or the neighborhoods that they didn't know that were hot now because they weren't before. And I saw it a lot. And those were the ones that I saw underpricing houses so much. This had nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with any of that. I'm just trying to paint a picture here for educational purposes. It's just my opinion that I saw there was a disconnect in how they were pricing properties. They were underpricing houses during the boom. And I would see them get underpriced, especially in Navy Point. I would underprice that and it would sell in an hour. And I was really like, at what point does it not jump into these agents' heads and in the heads of their clients when you sell a property in an hour? You're like, maybe you underpriced that a little bit. So it was really tough to comp. And, so you saw them overcomping 10% and then 10% and then 10%. And especially in areas where there was a lot of competition, they were just basically blitzing out of these properties. And I felt like clients were losing tons of money on that by just underpricing and selling too fast. If you think about it, from overpaying, basically your client was overshooting and people were using what was called a escalation clause where you could go up in increments of a contract. So you could, go up in $1,000 increments or $5,000 increments above the next offer to try to chase the price up, even if it went over ask. I don't know how many deals I lost last year where you go in and ask and that's what they wanted and somebody would outbid you and then the bid would just start happening. It was crazy. But overpaying in the market this coming year is going to be a really big deal, because as interest rates rise and the buyer pool goes down, the price of these properties are going to have to reflect that and come down. Another thing is insurance costs, and we'll talk about that later, is going to make the affordability of some of these houses, especially older houses, really tough. So it's going to make those prices come down even further. Most real estate brokerages are telling their agents to price comp 10% under, and then the breadth of what they're comping. So let's say in a neighborhood, instead of just taking this year's or last 6 months comps, they're going to have to average in 2020 and 2019 to kind of like maybe bring that shot group back together, because we all know as interest rates are going up, that house's price is going to fall probably 10% for every point up we get on an interest rate. It's just the cost of money. It's wild, but I think that's kind of how this is going to pan out, that as interest rates continue to go up, because Jay Powell said he's going to hold rates up high until we get to that 2% inflation. I don't know if we'll ever get to 2% inflation. That's a whole nother conversation. But it's really going to depend on how long he keeps those interest rates up. That being said, overpaying is going to be a big deal. That's where it's going to take having a really good real estate agent that knows that market. Take your comps and change them around a little bit for a downward facing market, and try not to pay too much. Maybe shoot 10% under the asking price, unless that agent on the other side did that and priced in a cooler market into their price. So take that into account very seriously, or shoot under and then negotiate up, or negotiate in a roof or repairs or something else. And I hope that helps on that category. Okay, so I'm going to jump to a real meaty category on this one, and this is going to be the flip market. Okay, I want to like stress this really hard. I laid up last night thinking about what I was going to do in the real estate market. Samantha was wanting to jump into some investments, and I'm thinking is this the right time? Here's my opinion on flips. Okay, for the unsavvy and even the savvy real estate investor, flips are like landmines. You always got to factor in that 10% of something behind a wall you didn't see. It's also, the more you do, sooner or later, you're going to hit that one house that's a lemon, and it's going to crush your return. It's really for the savvy, and like, honestly, you got to have a really good real estate agent that's like on point with those numbers, because your ARV, your after repair value, is just like, it's basically your listing price. And what I was just saying in overpaying, the overpaying category, you got to make sure that when you hit the market with that flip, that your number is just right, and your margin is just right, that you're going to make money. Because when you go into a market that's cooling off and that buyer's pool is very small, one, you've got to pick the right property up that will fit that category where that pool of buyers is. Two, like, your margins got to be good. Your numbers got to be good. Three, you got to have a good set of contractors where it doesn't take a lot of time, because your holding costs are going to crush you. So once you get to the market, you got to be able to offload it fast, because a lot of these guys are using bridge loans, or you're using some type of hard money loan, because there's a lot of different issues with the money factor. But when you go to sell it, you've got to be able to sell it fast. And right now, some of these properties are sitting on the market 30, 45 days or more. And it's really going to be hard to flip and win. See, I saw way too many people overpaying for Airbnbs and rentals last year. See, everybody was purchasing the property on the Airbnb number that they thought they could get. Well, they didn't really factor in that the Airbnb number on a hot market, like in a booming economy, is going to be different than if we go into a recession and people stop traveling. So, like, let's say you buy the house for $400,000. Let's just say that this is a really nice Airbnb rental. $400,000. The 1% rule says you must get $4,000 a month in Airbnbs, right? The old 1% rent rule, that maybe, like, if you just rented it on the long-term market, you would get that $4,000 a month, or $100,000 and $1,000 a month. Well, if you're buying that on an Airbnb number and not on a long-term rent, which will be lower than your Airbnb number, you're going to lose money on that property. And most insurance companies now are saying that, hey, if you're renting that and it's not your primary residence, this is a investment property, that high traffic you're getting there, we want a different insurance policy, or we're not going to cover your accident. And that insurance policy is going to be twice the amount as your normal policy. Now your property is definitely not going to cash flow. So you're buying a property overvalued that'll never cash flow, and you're banking only on appreciation in the hottest market there is. Now the market's going to go down, and you're going to be underwater fast in a lot of these Airbnbs. Same way in some of these rentals. You got to make sure the rent rates you are getting is the core backbone of what you're paying for that property, or you're going to lose money. Okay, the next one that will lose you a ton of money, and that is bad real estate agents. Okay, look, I want to make this very clear. I am not bashing real estate agents. I am not making fun of any of the core values of real estate agents or any of that. What I'm trying to do is educate you, the consumer, the viewer out there, about how real estate works. And when you go to participate on the field of real estate, like in the game, you have got to have somebody, a liaison, a professional that's out there doing it all the time. Just like you would get a lawyer or a dentist or a doctor or whatever in their field, the best, you would go and get the best. If you got hemmed up for a DUI and you needed a good criminal defense attorney, they're not all the same. Well, it's the same way with real estate agents. They are not all the same. There are some awesome ones, and there are some that are just one-time-a-year warriors that have been doing it. They've had a license for 20 years and they've done 5 transactions in 20 years. Just because they say, I've been doing it for 20 years, does not matter. Here's the scope. Here's how you should gauge it. Make sure that you ask them, how many deals have you done this year or the last 2 years? So over the last 2 years, if they've done quite a bit of transactions, 20, 30, 40, or 20 and 20, or 30 and 30, or 10 and 30, or whatever, just because that they're actively participating in real estate, that's the question you need to ask them to make sure you are getting a good agent that participates and is actually doing deals. Because let me tell you, real estate has changed so much in the last year and a half. Just the contract portion, the rules, the core of ethics, and all the other agents that have came in and left the field, it has changed a lot. So I want to go and say that when you price a house, that is super important. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars that you could lose just by your agent not being competent enough to get into the market and know exactly what they can get for it. They might underlist it. They might get you in a contractual problem where you're hemmed up and the buyer is extorting you for a bunch of repairs or whatever. Extorting as a joke, that was just just being funny there. That all of a sudden you're in an upside down position just because your representation is not fighting hard for you or facilitating the transaction in the right way. So remember, real estate is one of the biggest transactions most people will ever make. It's also one of the most illiquid transactions and assets you can buy. You can get into it, but it can take you a long time to get out of it. And especially as we're seeing some of these properties stay on the market 30, 45 days, some longer if they're overpriced. A bad real estate agent can cost you a bunch of money on the listing for not pricing it right. They can cost you money for time on market because they're just not working. Or they can cost you a ton of money in messing up the contract or not meeting deadlines, or not asking for the right repairs, or not having the network to get something done, or choosing a bad title company, or just having a foul personality. If they're bad to you, they are bad to the other side, and they will make it like pulling teeth to finish a real estate transaction. They don't answer their phone. They don't do their paperwork right. I've seen some not even use punctuation and refuse to send the proper addendums that the title company needs to just finish the transaction. It's just like, how are they still an agent? It's mind-boggling. How did they even find a client? Did they just luck into it? Like, sometimes it's just mind-boggling how some of these transactions go. I just don't understand it. I know I'm gonna catch flack about saying this, but I got to tell y'all what other agents did, like what they have to deal with in some of these transactions. This kind of got me and a little bit of spat and match last night because some agents, they think you're making fun of them or whatever. No, I'm just trying to educate the consumer out there that some can take advantage of you, some can give you poor representation. So hire the best, go after the best, because they all pretty much cost the same. And also be very wary of a real estate agent that is willing to bring down their commission or not fight for their value in their commission. And if you said, hey, are you willing to go down your commission to 4% instead of 5%, and they willingly do that, that one red flags me, one, that they are not a high commodity, or they don't value themselves, or that they work hard. Like, I work very hard, and I think my worth is what it is because I bring a lot to the table with my different platforms and the knowledge that I've done in a lot of the deals. No agent should be willing to just drop their commission because somebody thinks they're not worth it. Like, if you're good, you're good. That's just my opinion on that. Hold your own, and you're a professional. And as a consumer, you should want that agent to work hard for you, and you should compensate them to work hard. Like, some agents aren't willing to do some things that I'm willing to do. I have no problem looking under a house or jumping on a roof. Some agents, they're not going to get their shoes dirty, and you get what you pay for. Without a doubt, what will cost you more money than having a bad one is not having one at all. And I talk about this at length, and I don't care what anybody says. I've been doing this a while, okay? I've seen a lot of transactions. And by not having representation, if you don't know what you're doing and you don't do this all the time, you are going to have an issue. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you peace of mind. It's one of those transactions you're not going to know you messed up. Like, even as a professional, I've underpriced my own properties before. And it was back when I was an investor and I didn't know what I didn't know. And I didn't know that I was going to lose money on this transaction. Luckily, I got representation and I didn't make that mistake. Like, you don't know that you just underpriced $30,000. The other side's not going to tell you because they're going to take full advantage of it. Anybody worth their salt is like, that's underpriced. I'm buying it at underpriced value. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z and put it right back on the market. And they don't know any different. It is a situation that if you don't know, you think you did well, but you really didn't because you didn't have a professional look at it. Just like now, I know for a fact, I hire an attorney for a fact, okay? The longer I've been in any of this business game, I know I'm going to hire my attorney. I'm going to hire a good CPA. And the other one, I'm going to hire a great real estate agent that'd be like, yep, that's price is right, or nope, that price is wrong. And we're talking a difference of tens of thousands of dollars. And if there's a lot of repairs on a property that need to be done, can you liquidate it without the repairs? Or do you need to do the repairs? Is it a $1-for-$1 exchange on that repair? Or is it a 2-for-1? Should I do that repair? Those are the things that cost you a lot of money. And people with money and do this a lot know when to hire a professional. Know when to, hey, I don't know enough about this to do this. Difference between a wise man and an ignorant person. A wise man is strong enough and smart enough to know, hey, I don't know enough about this subject to comment on it. I'll find somebody that does. An ignorant person will say, I know everything. It's this. And he doesn't even know he's wrong. That's the difference. So that takes me into my next thought about how you can go broke real fast. Let's go into the for sale by owner. And I'm going to tread lightly on this, but this is for educational purposes only. So everything I'm about to say is for educational purposes. And I want the consumer to understand how this can go bad. So unless you're very, very educated in the real estate market and you decide to sell your house on your own, just know, okay, that when a real estate agent comps your house, does comparable analysis, they're going on the MLS, they're going on a lot of different places, they're seeing what's sold, what's the average of it, what they think that's listed right now, and through their professional opinion, kind of what they can get price per square foot for your house. when you, as a layman, goes to sell your house, a person, just a normal person, goes to sell your house, really the only resource you got is realtor.com and Zillow. Zillow is not, and I repeat this, not, that Zestimate is not what your house is worth, okay? It was a way for Zillow to buy your house off of you and sell it and make a penny, okay? And they created this meter for people to think that's what their house is worth, and it's not. You need to go along and see what a comparable house, price per square foot, same amount of bedrooms, is sold in your area, and sometimes there might not have been anything sold. And that's where the professional comes in, and they kind of scan out. They find something maybe in a comparable neighborhood that's, you know, a stone's throw away, or they go out and out and out. I've seen places where there wasn't any houses sold, especially in the $1 million realm, wasn't any sold for years. And you're out there throwing darts at the wall just from what you and your very professional friends have done, and that's called having a network. But if you try to sell your house on your own, it's statistically proven that on an average price house of like $350,000, pretty much you're going to undersell that property for at least $20,000, probably more. You're going to lose more on the pricing of your house than you would ever by hiring a real estate agent. And I say this not as a real estate agent, because I see this happen all the time. One, when you put that thing on the market and somebody goes to buy it, it's probably not going to be a real estate agent, because let's say you're not offering a commission. Well, being a real estate agent is a business, and they had to spend money to get buyers. And when they go under contract with you, as a layman, you're not going to know how a contract goes for two parties. You're not going to, I mean, you can't just print off a contract from Kmart or off of LegalZoom and think that you are going to facilitate the transaction properly. Yeah, you could probably get it done until it goes bad. There are so many ways for a real estate transaction to meet the civil transaction, okay? There are ethical things, there are contractual things, there are executable dates, there are repairs, there are a lot of moving parts that good real estate agents with a network allow them to fix the problem. I mean, perfect example. Okay, insurance says we can't close, we got a loan on the roof is the problem. Now it's a $30,000, $40,000 roof, okay? The buyer says, you got to have a roof or I can't close, or we're bouncing out of the contract. The seller says, well, I'm not selling it because I'm not going to replace a $30,000 roof. Now what? Okay. Well, you'll say, well, you know, contractually specific performance. Well, that's only as good as the amount of money you're able to throw at it. And the bigger the price house you got, the more people are willing to throw at it. Now you're in a situation of tens of thousands of dollars. A good agent might be able to come in here with 3 different roofers, have them in there tomorrow, all bidding against each other. And you get the buyer and the seller. The seller's able to throw a credit in there of, let's say, $15,000, $20,000. The buyers are like, you know what, I can work with that. You're able to work with an insurance company that can get you a good closing premium, and you're able to get that deal done. Whereas if 2 people didn't know what was going on, that deal will never happen. Everybody will get mad at each other, and they'll wind up in court, or the deal blows south and you've wasted 45 days on the market or off the market, and you've got another mortgage payment, the insurance, the taxes, and everything involved, plus the buyer has done all the inspections and been hung up with, and they've had their fees for the loan, and it is just a problem. And the more expensive the property, the bigger that can get. Theoretically, that's how this can go down. So trying to sell it for sale by owner also has a bunch of other problems. I know this video is getting long, but this has to be said. Most of those agents out there, I'm not saying I would do this, I'm saying most of the agents, they will not show your house and they will blacklist it. So the traffic will just not be there. Or you're out there trying to open the door every time for somebody that's wanting to see this, and you're dealing with all the phone calls and you're dealing with all the problems, and if you're not a people person, being able to deal with all the personalities, the tire kickers, the people lowballing you, and not knowing like how that kind of goes down and talk that talk, it's going to get it to be a lot fast. So where I'm getting at this, for sale by owner only really works when both parties are happy and it goes easy. That's rarely the case. I am pretty much a social worker in every transaction, and if it's not party A and B that has the problem, it's the title company, or it's the contractor that had to do something, or it's dealing with the inspection and the insurance company to get it closed, or you're just trying to talk your client into not quitting or walking away, or, half the time it's like pulling the other side across the finish line to get it done. Real estate is not easy. And that's why good agents make the big bucks to get big deals and hard transactions done, because they know what they're talking about. And that's why I almost think and I've been an investor for years, I've seen a lot of investors take fully advantage of people for sale by owners, a lot of wholesalers taking advantage of them. They don't have licenses, so they're not bound to the rules of a real estate agent. They will just come in and take complete advantage with contracts that there's no way out of, and they're going to win, and they're going to shove that contract down your and they're going to win. This is me trying to educate you how this could go down. Kind of like new builders with their contracts. They're going to win with those contracts, and you need an experienced person to help you navigate. The last one I want to talk about is the cost of ownership. Okay, you got to pick the right property to go in on. Old properties right now in the state of Florida, insurance is astronomical. If they don't pass a good 4-point and have a strong wind mitt and a new roof, new plumbing, and everything along with it, the insurance is going to be super expensive per year. I mean, we're seeing it double and triple. So if you thought that property was going to cash flow at, $200,000, well, if you doubled the insurance, it might not cash flow anymore. Or if you bought it for your home and all of a sudden and it's escrowed, your insurance is escrowed with your mortgage, and also that mortgage goes from, $1,200 a month to $1,800 a month, what would that do to your monthly budget? Well, let's say it's $2,000 a month and it goes to $2,400 a month because your roof is now over 15 years old, or now all of a sudden the insurance company is wanting a new inspection and your plumbing's bad or whatnot. It can get more expensive fast. So you got to make sure you're buying the right type of property. And that's why so many people are going to new builds or newer builds or 2006 on, because anything before that we're starting to see is requiring a lot of repairs to get these things to the closing table. I mean, they're wanting stuff like ice and water shields under shingles, which in some places I don't even know how they're going to get those shingles back up because they stick to the ice and water shield. That's going to be interesting in 10 or 15 years when they got to redo some of these roofs. Some people are going to metal roofs. There's a lot of things that are that's going on right now, especially in the state of Florida, anywhere where you have natural disasters, that insurance is just going to go up and your cost of ownership is going to go up. And you have to make sure you know what you're doing when you go to buy those properties. You don't want to get hemmed up by it. So in conclusion, interest rates are going to keep going up for at least the next year. We're probably going to see a 0.5 and another 0.5 and probably another 0.5 interest rate rise. It's just going to happen. It's the nature of the beast. And real estate is going to get cooler and cooler. So you need to factor that in to the price you're going to offer. Because if you know you're at the peak of something, you don't want to buy at the peak. But that goes into the depends category sometimes on where you are in life and if your kids need that school or that location. Well, that depends too. I've talked about that at length on this channel. But if it was me and I was going to buy a property, I think like the middle of next year, you're going to see max pain and you're going to start to get some really good prices. But what I would do now, knowing that, and a property's been on the market 40, 45 days, I would go 15, 20% under, start making my offer, start talking to the other agents, see if you can negotiate into it, and see what they're willing to throw in, a new roof or some repairs, and make it work. Like, you can make a lot of these deals work and, buy down the points, etc., offer some type of ask for some type of credit that you can throw towards buying down points, etc. There's a lot of different ways of doing that. But I hope this video helped. There's a lot of ways that if you don't know what you're doing, you can lose money in real estate. And where you make money is always on the buy, not on the sell. So you got to buy it right. And, you know, it's an interesting time in real estate. There's a lot of things going on. I've talked for like way too long. So don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you on the next video.